So I would say my moral code, number one, like I want to be relentless. I want to be remembered as somebody that always did what he said he was going to do, always got to his end goal despite the challenges that were there, despite the obstacles that were there. I would say number two, am I helping people get to their goals? Am I helping to push people? Am I helping other people grow? I always want to help somebody else. And I would say number three, am I challenging the status quo? There's this awesome quote that from a book that I read in like sixth grade called Trader, and it says that things are the way they are only because enough people have agreed that they are that way. And I love that because I always want to challenge that status quo and ask myself, okay, what do I believe? Not what does everybody else believe, not what is everybody else doing, but what do I believe? What do I want to do? So am I challenging that status quo? My name is Quentin Allums. I also go by Just Q. I'm the CEO of Urban Misfit Ventures. We own two different companies, events and then storytelling companies. So I travel the world, I speak, and I tell stories for a living. I think I'm most passionate about people. I think there's a lot of things that go into that, but I think one of my favorite things is just seeing someone live out their dreams and seeing someone like use their story to live out those dreams, but just people in general. Seeing people get together, seeing people do amazing things. I'm most passionate about people and their stories. I think there's a lot of impactful stories that I've heard, a lot of impactful stories that I've been a part of. I would say for me, like, I struggled for a long time as an entrepreneur, and I would always go walk along the lakefront and look at these big houses and just imagine what my life would look like if I got out of this struggle. And now we have one of Milwaukee's fastest growing startup, and looking back and just reminiscing on what I used to feel back then. And not that we've made it or that we're this crazy awesome company or anything like that. We're doing great things and we definitely have room to grow, but just looking back and seeing how far I've come, I think that is the most impactful story for me, because I did it. I did what I said I was going to do, and I'm doing it with people that I love. So how does fashion impact the way that I view the world? How have I used fashion to set myself apart? So I'm a really big creator on LinkedIn. And I create on other platforms, but I go travel, I speak, and I create content. And for me, the way that I dress, the way that I look, that's always been a big part of who I am, whether I was a musician, whether I was an athlete. I've always been that weird, quirky, misfit guy. And now, I'm known for my black hat, right? And everybody that knows me knows that I wear that black hat, and it's always been my way to stand out. So fashion's a big part of that. So people that influence me, on a basic level, definitely my mom. Growing up and seeing her struggle to provide for our family, really big family, seeing her struggle to provide for us, definitely. My brother, who's now an advocate and travels the world, incredible human being, but bigger than that, I would say I only take advice from people that I would trade places with. And I like to say that I've been raised by strangers, and I don't mean that literally, but I take advice from people like Jason Silva, right? Who's one of my biggest content heroes, this amazing philosopher that literally goes on these huge rants about the world and technology, and I love that. I take inspiration from people like Kobe Bryant just because of his mentality, and he sees something and he goes and does it, gets up at 4 a.m. to work out and does all these different things. I love that level of obsession, and that's something that I've tried to implement into my life. So I take inspiration from strangers and people that I would trade places with, because why take advice from somebody that hasn't done what you're wanting to do? Why take advice from somebody that hasn't done it yet? So I look at people that are doing what I want to do or are on the same path as me, and that's where I get my inspiration, but that's all around me. So if I could have dinner with three people, living, dead, or fictional, I'm gonna add, number one, I would say that's gonna be Batman. And I know that probably sounds weird, but Batman's just always been a figure that I've taken inspiration from, whether that's branding, whether that's just me diving into cartoons and as an escape or something like that. But Batman, he's somebody that literally just a guy in a suit that decided that he wanted to change something, so he went and changed it. And I love that. He doesn't have any superpowers, but he's able to take down all these people that are powerful, and they're literally gods among Earth, but he's just this guy, a human in a suit that decided he wanted to make a change, and he does it. He does his research, and he shows up, and he he takes people down. I love that. I would say another one is going to be, I would say definitely Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant's always been somebody that I looked up to as a kid, and again, it just goes back to that mindset and that level of obsession. That's always been something that I've tried to take into my work, whether that was me as a writer or a musician or a marketer or now as an entrepreneur. I have that level of obsession. Every single talk that I do, every single video that I do, I'll go back and I'll look at it and I'll dissect it and I'll set this criteria and make sure that I hit it, because I want to be the very, very best at everything that I do, and not comparing myself to other people, but I want to be so good that people can't forget me. I want to be so good that I could just go by Q, just Q. Another person that I would say I would love to sit down with, living or dead, that's a really, really hard question. There's a lot of options, or fictional. I would say, just because it's popping in my head right now, I would say Jason Silva, who again is one of my biggest content heroes. And just because of his ability to explain very, very complex things like augmented reality or Internet of Things or virtual reality, machine learning, the singularity, these very, very complex ideas that people don't understand yet. And he's able to explain them in a way that's poetic. He's able to explain them in a way that a kid can understand, but also when he speaks, it feels like a drug. And you go on these binges of his content and you want to keep consuming more and more and more. So I'd love to sit down with him and just see how he does that and what he's actually thinking when he's in these states of flow. So I think I knew that I could take the leap to be an entrepreneur for the first time. Right when I decided that I wanted to launch a company, I think I knew that I could do it. But when I actually jumped to do it, I realized, damn, I don't know anything. I'm not ready to do this. So I had this sense of obliviousness. But I jumped and I struggled for a year. I struggled for another year. I struggled for some more months. And then all of a sudden, I took off. And all of a sudden, people started paying attention. All of a sudden, I was being flown out to speak in LA and New York and places like that. But I think I knew when I actually started doing it. And when I got deep in it and I was struggling, I knew that if I went back to what I was doing, it would have been for nothing. So why not just keep going, keep learning, keep growing, and become that person that I wanted to be? So I would say I knew when we started doing it, when I started doing it. So my biggest goal in life, I've done a lot of podcasts and I get asked that question a lot and I never have a good answer. I would say that my biggest goal in life, I don't know yet, because if I were to give that, I'd be limiting myself and my beliefs and my dreams and my future based off my beliefs and my limitations now, the world's limitations now. So I don't want to give that answer. I don't know what my biggest goal in life is, but I do want to do a lot of things. I want to go to Mars. I want to be a part of the marketing team that helps the colonization of Mars. I want to own an esports team. I want to be very successful with this company that I'm building now. I want to help other people tell their stories. I have a lot of goals like that, but I would say ultimately, and honestly, I just want to be remembered as someone that was relentless and somebody that left an impact on the world, and real impact, not just another guy that was rich, not just another guy that launched a company, not just another guy that was in esports or an entrepreneur. I want to be remembered as a dude that was relentless and he did what he said he was going to do, and he left a real impact on people and on the world. So my legacy. So I am based in a city that is fairly small. And we get a lot of crap. And people ask me all the time, why am I in Milwaukee? And real talk, to me, it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter what city you choose, so long as you choose it and it doesn't choose you. And for me, I'm choosing Milwaukee because I can go travel to New York. I can go travel to London. I can go travel to LA, and we do. We definitely do. So for me, I don't think anything would be different if I was in a different city. I've just happened to choose Milwaukee because I see the potential and I see the blank canvas and I see that I can make a real impact here, and I can go travel to those other cities. To me, it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter where you are on the map. If you want to do something, you just go do it. A message that I would give to somebody that feels like they have nothing, I would say that you never have nothing. Everything you've been through, every experience you had, every person you met, you always take that with you into the next hour, the next minute, the next second, the next day. So you never have nothing. So just take a look at yourself and what you're good at in your life and figure out a way to use that to leverage and get yourself to where you want to be. but you never ever have nothing. So during my second business, I remember a time where like I had negative $900 in my bank account and like uber stressed, couldn't pay bills, like couldn't buy my dog food, couldn't buy my cat food, just stressed all the time. And rent was due like at the end of the week, and I remember walking outside of my room and talking to my roommate at the time, and I just said like, dude, like I don't know if I can do this entrepreneur thing anymore. Like if I don't have one client by the end of the month, by the end of the week, and I can't pay rent, then I'm done. And at the end of that week, I had 3 clients. And that to me, like that was the moment where I realized like someone like me can do this. And I still struggled for a very long time after that, but I pivoted a bunch. And ultimately I remember like, I talked to one of my mentors and he pointed me in the direction of LinkedIn. So I create a lot of stuff on LinkedIn. I tell my story, I talk about what I'm going through, and a lot of people listen. I have a lot of followers, which is awesome and incredible, but it's like this huge pivot compared to what I was doing before. And I remember like I created like over 500 videos just talking about my story, and nobody listened, nobody watched. And when I jumped on LinkedIn, I knew I was ready. I knew I had the skill set to do it. And I started recording videos. And I remember I was invited to this event and I got to meet one of the top creators on this platform that just totally revolutionized everything that was going on. And I walk up to the dude after his talk and I'm like, dude, like I love everything that you've been able to do. I love what you've been able to build. And the first thing that he told me, and I'll never forget that, is just unfollow me. And he said that a lot of people just get stuck in copying what everybody else is doing. And it's our job as innovators, as creatives, as entrepreneurs to treat everything that we see like it's black and white television. And it's our job to create color TV. And I remember I left that event early, but like that for me, when I look back, that was the most impactful time for me because I tuned everybody else out and I just did my own thing. And I went back and I created videos and I started pushing my story out on LinkedIn consistently. And all of a sudden it was like, okay, 30,000 views, 100,000 views, 500,000 views, 1 million. I kept growing and I kept putting myself out there, but it's because I tuned everybody else out. And I'm not saying that you don't consume. I'm not saying that I don't consume or I don't look at other entrepreneurs or other companies. I'm just saying that I do and stay in my own lane and I own that lane. And I totally 100% believe that different is always going to be better than better. And I think Josh is really the one that set me on that path and helped me own the fact that I was a misfit. And now it's the fact that I am a misfit, that I'm getting these speaking engagements and that my company is growing and that the people around me are growing. It's because, again, we're creating color television when everybody else is seeing in black and white.